So we were talking about 100 dhammas classified into 5 kinds. What do we mean by 100 dhammas? The whole world is categorized into 100 dhammas. How do we define dhamma? Things, let's say. The Buddhist teaching is to understand everything about the universe. What do we mean by everything? We cannot just understand everything. There's so much to understand. So we just... The Buddhist tattvas, later philosophers, classify the Buddhist teaching exposition into 100 dhammas. Okay, 100 dhammas, we have the conditioned dhammas and unconditioned dhammas. What do we mean by conditioned dhammas and unconditioned dhammas? Conditioned dhammas refers to all phenomena in the world, the whole world, and everything that is governed by cause and effect, and the law of dependent originations of conditions. That's conditioned dhammas. Everything is unconditioned. It's the creation of conditions, like our body. It has no reality of its own. It is built and it functions when the conditions fulfill. When the conditions are not fulfilled, this body is going to disintegrate. So it itself, this body, does not have, quote unquote, a self. This body is not a self that we attach to. Everything is unconditioned, and there's nothing that is unconditioned. Like the fact that you're coming here today, there must be cause for it. There's a cause and effect. There must be a reason why you're coming here today. Maybe you have been building up those conditions for your coming here today, that if that's the final effect, that if we stop in here to say, today you are here, if we recognize that there's an effect that you are here today, what are the conditions leading to this effect that you are here today? There are many conditions and many causes. And these conditions must be mature for you to come here. So it's not a simple matter that you are here today. Imagine you wake up this morning and then you say, oh, I'm going to the temple, and then you start your car, and you ignite your car, the car doesn't work. It broke down the night before, you can't come here. If there was a traffic jam, it's jammed so much that you have to delay for an hour, you can't come here. Or you didn't know anything about a temple, that you can't come here. There's so many cause and effect that you come here. So conditions, dhamma. And of course, there are unconditioned dhammas, which is just the opposite. I won't explain in the detail because we've been talking about it for many, many hours, for 60 hours. And under conditioned dhammas, there are 94 conditioned dhammas and 6 unconditioned dhammas. So what are these 94? The first one we have study is consciousness, consciousnesses. So this school of thought of the Buddhist teaching is known as, in the Sanskrit language, Vijnanamatrata, or consciousness only, the study of our own consciousness. So the Buddhist teaching is not just a faith religion, it's a religion of research and investigation and analysis. So you have to study the consciousness that we have in order to understand ourselves and understand our relations to the whole world and our relations to everybody. The consciousness, the Vijnana, or in the Pali language, Vijnana. In English translation, consciousness. Okay, now what are these consciousness? This flash through it. We said this consciousness have eyes, ears, nose, taste, tactile consciousness, the 5 consciousness, because of the sensory organs of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body correspond. Eyes correspond to vision, ears to audition, nose to olfaction, tongue to taste, body to tactility. So that explains the material side of of our what we attach as an ego, a self. That's the material part, the physical part. And we know eyes, ears, nose, tongue, those are the front end. Those are the front end salesmen and sales lady of our body. We know that. And what is this body? Body is create tactility when it gets into the objects of touch. But that includes not just of touching, that includes all the interaction of our organs inside, the systems, the physiological structure, the blood, the fluid, the heart, the liver, everything about the whole body, how it works. That includes everything. Those are the consciousness. And then other than the material part of it, we have the mind part, the body and mind, everything. The mind corresponds to everything. It creates impression and images. So we have the mano consciousness, which is the intellectualization of our cerebral cortex. Remember, the brain is in three parts. The cerebral cortex, which is the learning brain, the limbic system of the brain, which is our emotional brain, and then the survival brain, which is the spinal cord, the spinal cord area. So why do we have emotions? Because we have a limbic system there, in which we have the amygdala, which interacts with outside, it sends signals, it creates hormones, it creates cortisols. So that's the mind, the mentality part. We studied that in detail already. The intellectualizational part, the rationalization part, the moral perspective part. Why do we rationalize? Why do we intellectualize? Why do we analyze and investigate and all that? That's the mano. And then there's also the manas part. The manas, the seven consciousness, which is the ego part, the ego attachment, the I, the we, the I syndrome, the I, me syndrome. This is my body. This is affecting me. I protect my interest. My interest has to be better than yours. You are hurting me. So this I, me, ego. And this ego attachment is always having a tug of war with the rationality part, intellectualization part, which is the mano part. They're always a tug of war. One part is the rationalization, the other part is the egoistic attachment. You're always at war with each other. And you know which side usually wins? It's the ego that usually wins. It's the attachment that usually wins. That's the reason why you cannot control your emotions, your anxiety, your worries, your fear, your phobia, whatever you call it. And then finally there's alaya consciousness, which is the store consciousness of everything. That's just using an analogy of the computer. That's the memory, that's the chips that record everything. You think every thought, every word, every action builds up karmic energy, which accumulate in the store consciousness. So when a person dies, when this body dies out, you don't have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you don't have them anymore. Your brain doesn't work. The functionality of your sense organs, they don't work anymore. You don't have them anymore. The material don't work. The ego shrink into the store consciousness. Only the store consciousness left, and that's what we call alaya consciousness. And at death, that's the last to leave your body. It's imperceptible. You can't see it. How can you see energy, karmic energy? It leaves your body at the last moment. And of course, we talk about it. There are 6 locations in which your alaya consciousness left the body. And that locations sometimes give you an idea of where you're going after death, which realm. The 3 vicious realms or the 3 benevolent realms. The 3 vicious realms being victims of hell. You go down to hell, you go to the animal realm, you go into the ghost realm. Those are the 3 vicious realms. You may be going to the benevolent realm, which is the human realm, heavenly beings realm, and the Azura's realm. We already explained that. So that's your alaya consciousness. Those are 8 consciousnesses that all sentient beings have. And the alive consciousness is the last to lose, the last to leave the body. But it's the first to enter the body, it's the first to enter the mom's womb. When there is a fusion of the sperm and the ovary, at that moment, that karmic energy zooms into the mother's womb and becomes that material, which is we call a baby, an embryo, and then it slowly grows. That's just to simplify it. We already have talked about it for many, many hours. It's good for a review. Rupa, 11 rupas. What are these forms? The eyes, material. Forms means matter. The eyes, the nose, the ears, the body, and all other forms in the world, everything about this, everything we see, matters, molecules, protons, electrons, you name them, these are the material. And other than the materials that we can actually perceptible, there is actually some half and half imperceptible material by the senses. They are not comprehended by the senses. And some of these are images in your mind, in your dreams. I'm sitting in here, I close my eyes, and I think about downtown Vancouver. I think about Odeum Theatre, and then it pops in my impression in my mind, and that image is created in there. It's just a creation of the image in my mind. You know, our mind always create images, you know. You create images and you attach to them. You're sitting in here and you're thinking about the experiences you experienced yesterday. Somebody hurt you by insulting you. And you're sitting in here, you thought about that insult, and that insulting sound re-echo in your mind and make you mad, and you feel depressed, you feel your self-esteem is hurt, and you don't like it, you hate it, and you want to do something about it. You want to call up that guy and say, why did you yell at me yesterday? Etc., etc. You have your images, you create the past images into your mind, you attach to them, and you emotionally do something about them. That creates all the mental afflictions, all the problems that we have. The importance of studying all this is to analyze yourself, to let go of your attachment. All right, this is form. And then we also study concomitant mental functions. When your eyes see, when your ears listen, when your tongue taste, when your body touch, and all these senses, at the same time, what happened to your mind? They're not just perception, they're not just sensation and feelings, there are certain mental functions interacting and work in your mind to bring out your emotions. If we talk about it physiologically, whenever your mind interacts with the outside world, the environments, and somehow if the environments are stimulating, it will stimulate your brain, your emotional brain, your limbic system, sending messages to the amygdala. And the amygdala will say, stop this, do that. Being emotional, you should feel, you should yell, you should do something about it. This amygdala is working for you and also working against you. It's working for you to protect you on the spur of the moment. This amygdala will say, a car is rushing by, and you stop because that signals you to stop. On the other hand, that amygdala can say, hey, that guy is hurting you. Fight him back. You know, it can be your master, it can be your, both. It's like a fire. All right, there's a lot of concomitant mental functions in your mind that's working to bring out the emotions that you have. You are not yourself, You cannot control those emotions. How can we control those emotions? You have taken your first step in learning how to control the emotions. What is that first step? Why are you coming here today? You're learning meditation. Meditation has been proven to understand your consciousness and put a stop to whatever stimulation and emotions that you have. You have a better control of your amygdala, of your emotional limbic system. And it enhances the functionality of your cerebral cortex, which is the learning brain. It rationalizes your brain, intellectualizes your brain. That's the function of meditation. All right, let's talk about this concomitant mental functions, very complicated. We have 51 of them. We have generally interactive functions, attentions, contact, sensation, perception, and volition. We also have particular functions, desire, resolve, mindfulness, concentration, intelligence. Those we already talked about for hours. I'm not going to repeat them. Let's talk about unwholesome functions now. We have unwholesome functions, 6 root basic unwholesome functions, 8 primary unwholesome functions, 2 medium unwholesome functions, and 10 minor unwholesome functions. These are the unwholesome functions that we have been spending hours on. Your greediness, anger, ignorance, arrogance, doubt, false view, disbelief, laziness, indulgence, thoughts wandering, torpor, forgetfulness, distraction, false understanding, shamelessness, no guilt, hatred, expressed hatred, hidden hatred, which is vengeance, vexation, jealousy, harm, parsimony, pride. And this pride is similar to what we call arrogance in some cases. Concealment, flattery, deceit, deceiving. Which one do you have in there? Or all of them you have? It's a matter of degree, matter of level. So these are the concomitant unwholesome mental functions that have been in your store consciousness since many lifetimes, that have been stored in there. And whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you feel, whatever your sensory organs interact with, they work with you to carry out your actions, your speech. Where did they come from? Where did these things come from? Some people say it's come from you because you infuriate me. Your words, your actions, they do not come from external. It comes from internal. If you don't attach, there's no problem. You're attached to them. Your egoistic attachment. So these are the unwholesome mental functions that everybody has. It's a matter of degree only. Some people has higher and some people have lower. And then you say, okay, what happened to a baby? Would a baby have guilt and arrogance and disbelief and laziness and all that? I'm a newly born baby. Do I have all that? Yes, you do. Because you're reborn with alaya consciousness, and all these have been stored in your alaya consciousness. They are hidden potential energy. They haven't come out yet. Wait till you develop and grow. It would grow at the same time. So this ego attachment has 2 facets to it. One facet is the innate facet. You're born with it. The other is distinguished facet. You learn later. You learn to be egoistic later, or you learn to be altruistic later. Depends on the family education. So it's very important that after you were born, what kind of education, your family education, school education you receive. Because there's certain portion that is distinguished ego attachment, and there's certain portion that is innate, born with it. And the innate is heavy. Because why? This potential energy has been accumulated for many, many lives, not just of this lifetime. Some baby were born with compassion. Some baby were born with a special feeling of rage, jealousy, hatred. Babies are different, you know. It's just they haven't got the words and the thoughts to develop their thoughts into action. As the baby grows, the thoughts will develop into speech and action. Speech and action will develop into, habitually, into what? Into habits. And habits would develop into personality. Personality determines your destiny. You are your personality. Your personality are your values that you build up. With these values, it either get you up or you pull you down. So what are your values? Did your dad give you the values? Only in the distinguished part, your dad may have given you the value. But most of it is the innate part, which we call reincarnation. All right, these are the unwholesome mental functions. And let's get back to how about are all babies bad? Are we all bad? How optimistic? How pessimistic? How negative? You're talking about everything is negative. Everything is guilt, shamelessness, anxiety, depression. Are you too negative? We also have wholesome functions in our mind. We're not just bad, we have a lot of good stuff, in our mind too. What are these good things? Wholesome functions, we have faith, shamefulness, guilt, no greed, no hatred, no ignorance, diligence, joy, equanimity, no indulgence, and no harming. See, these are only the generalizations of it. Just like unwholesome functions, there are more and more to it because there's so much that we can't classify all of them. So these are wholesome functions. We also have what we call love and compassion and many good facets of personalities we have. Okay, and then we have 4 indeterminate functions. Some of these could be good, could be bad. And then lastly, I want to finish it up. Dharma is non-interactive with the mind. Dharma is non-interactive with the mind. There are some dharmas that the mind cannot interact with. And we already have explained them. Acquisition and life force. We already have talked about them. Commonalities by species, differentiation of species, attainment of thoughtfulness, attainment of cessation, and realm of thoughtlessness, name, body, predicate, utterance, birth, continuity, aging, impermanence, continuity and changeability, determinant karmic differences. So in other words, these are not interactive with the mind, but they exist with the mind. I would like to talk about unconditioned Dharma next time. I would like to limit my talk. I already have finished the conditioned Dharma, the 94 of them. And then next time, I'm going to talk about unconditioned Dharma. There's 6 unconditioned Dharmas. When I finish talking about the 6 unconditioned Dharmas, then I finish the 100 Dharmas. Then I go forward with exploring each consciousness in detail. The 8 consciousnesses in detail. What are those 8 consciousnesses? The eyes consciousness, the nose consciousness, the ears, the tongue, the taste, the mano, the manas, and the alaya consciousness in detail. That's the topic. We're just summarizing the parameters of the 8 consciousnesses. So we'll study the 8 consciousnesses. We start next time. I'll probably spend about 15 minutes on finishing up the unconditioned Dharma. Then I go back to the beginning, because you cannot understand consciousnesses, the 8 consciousnesses, without understanding the 100 Dharmas. You have to understand that first. And sometimes I'm a little amazed at people, philosophers in the ancient times. Look at when these 8 consciousnesses were written. Written by Tripitaka Master Xuanzang, AD 596 to 664, which is about 1500 years ago. They already analyzed consciousness in detail. At that time, they didn't even have psychology. They don't have psychology. They already have studied psychology in so much depth that even modern psychologists were amazed. How come these ancient people, they go so much depth into thinking, into the brain, into consciousness?